Grand Theft Auto The Trilogy Definitive Edition. This is a situation that just seems to get worse and worse every day. Just a snowball that keeps building in the myriad issues that people have encountered with this game. And this is why if you look at Metacritic right now and go to Grand Theft Auto Trilogy's listing, while there's no official reviews out yet because Rockstar and Take-Two didn't distribute review copies, likely knowing that it would not be well received, likely knowing that this was a rushed product that they're putting out there, and the lack of any sort of gameplay overview was already suspect. Users are beginning to rate the game, and the user score here you can see looks pretty damn awful, sitting at a 0.6 from over 1,300 reviews. And this is the PC version, which has the highest number of ratings, but other versions are in similar territory. And just to give you some idea as to how bad this is, this already makes Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Edition among the worst user-rated games in Metacritic history, already in the same range as Madden NFL 22 and Warcraft 3 Reforged, and hell, who knows, maybe potentially going lower into Madden NFL 22 for PS5 and Madden NFL 21 territory. A lot of people really had high hopes for this remaster, given that the trailer actually impressed, but it only showed the good parts of the game. A lot of the bad was hidden under the rug and sprung up as a surprise for purchasing customers. Models just looking flat out awful, Simsified, like this NPC who has a much better look in the PS2 version. Some NPCs don't even look like their original counterparts, like old Reese here, who's now young for some reason. Models like this, which look like abominations, draw distance issues, and this I'll talk about in further detail, as that's just looking worse and worse with more people sharing their own screenshots. Typos all over the place, models and their skeletal structure with awful proportions. This obviously doesn't look right. Patrick Star over here, Pinhead, certainly isn't looking very normal. Physics issues, glitches, bugs, the whole 9 yards, it's all there. This is one image that's really making the rounds, highlighting and compiling tons of issues people have encountered. Stuff like guns not being held properly and bats not aligning with the hand. This is on top of bugged out graphics in the environment, like this screenshot showing a portion of this cliffside that looks very off. We got this screenshot showing a tree floating in the air. The roads and their indicators are misaligned because texture upscaling was poorly handled, and there's multiple examples of this around the internet. We also got clips like this showing NPCs having hot dog fingers for some reason. Beyond that, people have been sharing screenshots like this showing faces not rendering properly. There are issues in the mobile port of San Andreas that make their way into the definitive edition, like the character falling into water and not sinking, instead just staying afloat, unlike in the original game where it's handled a lot more realistically. And I've got some new stuff to show you today as well, like this image comparing the original from the much worse looking definitive edition, and then you look at a modded version of this character and you can see just how much better it looks compared to the official effort, which is what makes Take-Two and Rockstar's mods killing spree that much more insulting. They can't even do better than the mods to make up for the way they've been handling the modding community. Here are some other graphical issues I didn't get to talk about in my previous video. If you make CJ fat, then this is what that looks like. You can see that the upper part of the body is floating above the pants. Clearly, they didn't model this properly, and the pants aren't covering the invisible parts of the body portion properly, which creates this awful looking effect. Even things like haircut, they messed up in unbelievable fashion. This looks very natural. This obviously looks very, very wrong. There's a smooth transition in the original image that makes this look like a natural part of his skin. This just looks like somebody taped skin color tape on top of the hair. And those browsing through Reddit might have encountered posts like this, what every motherfucker in San Andreas looks like in the definitive edition. You've got this really distorted image. But here's the thing, that's not an inaccurate assessment when you look at this footage of definitive edition showing CJ all glitched out with monstrously proportioned limbs. And then on top of graphical issues, I did talk about the performance issues on Switch that have made it damn near unplayable for a lot of people, and the removal of features like certain songs and cheats due to technical reasons, whatever that means, has culminated in people thinking that maybe this definitive edition isn't so definitive after all. Now I want to go back to talking about draw distance real quick. You can see right here an image that I highlighted in my previous video showing how visible everything is, stuff that you shouldn't be seeing. Things should be more fogged up to give the open world a more natural look from this vantage point, but it just looks really, really off. It looks very video gamey with no blending going on to make sceneries like these easier on the eyes. You can see the whole map on the San Andreas Definitive Edition, and it just doesn't look right. Here's yet another example of somebody highlighting how they used to enjoy going up to high places in San Andreas for the view, but a lot of those views have been ruined by the lack of fog and by the draw distance that they've way overextended. I used to love just chilling out on top of Mount Chiliad in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. The fog, haze, and clouds made it feel like the game world was massive. Here in the remaster, there is no fog, no clouds. You can see the edge of the map, and CJ clips through the ground. I regret downloading this. And that's the thing, part of the reason you want to handle draw distance properly is because stuff like that can give the game a greater sense of scale, whereas if you can see the whole map like this, you really kind of get thrown out of the immersion factor, and you get to see, oh right, this is a video game world that's a lot smaller in scale, and that illusion is broken. And we got the same Twitter user posting, it gets worse when you hop in a plane. I mean, just look how bad that looks. And then there's the rain in this trilogy, which I also briefly talked about in my previous video on this matter, but I'd like to dive deeper into this, as the rain is a lot worse than I initially thought. It's not just distracting visually, but it also just straight up makes the game unplayable in certain places. So this is the clip that I showed previously, and this on its own already looks pretty bad. It looks like it's raining milk instead of water, which is supposed to be more transparent and less prominent. This is just so hard on the eyes. But on top of the fact that the rain often glitches out, like here's a clip showing the rain behaving in a very weird fashion, especially when you're flying in the air on a plane. You can see the rain's going up and down, gravity shifting or something. It's obviously not a normal visual effect. The same goes for this clip showing rain going through the roof of a garage. The rain also just makes it incredibly hard to see, and in some places the performance suffers, as shown here by this Reddit user. You can see just how stuttery the game gets on top of the rain being so prominent and so opaque, and it clips through, like, the water isn't rendered quite properly, and you can see the rain through certain objects, like layered on top. It's a very bizarre visual effect. On top of all that, on top of the rain just being full-on ugly, look at how impossible it is to see anything at all, to the point where driving at night straight up becomes untenable. And this is even the worst of it. You've got people like Twitter user GTA Man Lives tweeting, alright, so this rain effect has officially beaten me. It rains every time I do this racing mission in San Andreas, and I literally cannot see where the fuck I'm driving anymore. And yeah, playing the clip, I don't know what's going on. Especially from this vantage point. And like, there's like this, what is that on the left? Is that water or something? That really sticks out and pops out in a way where it creates this bizarre optical illusion. It's like the rain doesn't show up on this layer for some reason. It only shows up everywhere else. And an even more infamous clip that's going viral right now is from Twitter user Janky, who simply tweeted, "My eyes hurt, part 1. And clicking on the video, I mean, look at this. What the hell is going on? The rain doesn't look like it's happening in the world. It looks like a layer on top of the screen that kind of follows you around, but doesn't show up when it's layered on top of certain objects, so it makes those objects stand out, like the water on the lake and stuff like that. Like this look at this. This is all kinds of abnormal. And yeah, this would absolutely hurt my eyes. It'd make it physically straining to play this. And Janky posted a part 2 as well, and it's not much different here either. I mean, good lord, how they screw this up this bad. How they ship this game like this. Especially when it starts thundering. It just makes things even more disorienting than it already is. I mean, what the hell is this? And so we're starting to see articles pop up with headlines that read, GTA Trilogy pours rain so hard, it's nearly unplayable. It's not even that it's raining too hard, it's just the visual design of the rain is so poorly handled that it just makes it game-cripplingly hard to see, especially if you're driving at night. And then the cherry on top to all of this is that the PC version of the GTA Trilogy is currently completely inaccessible, as this Kotaku headline states, GTA Trilogy pulled for PC, Rockstar launcher broken. The broken launcher on its own made the game inaccessible, but now the launcher is back according to this update, but the PC version of GTA Trilogy is still pulled, and nobody really understood why this happened. Like, they literally unreleased the game and retroactively made it so that people who purchased the game and downloaded it could no longer access it, with nary an update until later yesterday, November 12th, when they released this statement. The Rockstar Games launcher is now online, but GTA the Trilogy, the definitive edition, is unavailable to play or purchase as we remove files unintentionally included in these versions. We're sorry for the disruption and hope to have correct ones up soon. As for what these unintentionally included files are, Rockstar didn't go into detail, but some assumptions can be made about this, especially with how data miners shortly after the game's launch discovered developer comments as well as unlicensed songs in the GTA Trilogy. Songs that were removed due to licensing reasons. Turns out they're not just gone from the game, they've just been turned off from being able to be accessed in the game, but they are within the game's files. And on top of all that, earlier today, it was discovered that they accidentally left hot coffee in San Andreas. You know, the minigame that created tons of controversy, that got San Andreas the adults-only rating, forcing them to essentially recall the game, change that, and then re-release the game. It seems reasonable to assume that on top of music that shouldn't be in the game and developer comments that shouldn't be in the game, they're also striving to remove this hot coffee minigame, and I just don't know how something this glaring happens by accident, unintentionally, unless developers were really rushed to get this game out. But yeah, folks who purchased this game on PC are still not able to access the game. There's plenty of backlash, and tons of people are now asking for refunds as that backlash intensifies, as reported here by Eurogamer. Scrolling further down, you can see that they've embedded a bunch of tweets asking for a refund. Can I get a refund, please? We would like to look into this issue. Please create a ticket here. And this is pretty much the boilerplate response that Rockstar support will give to anyone asking for a refund on Twitter. How do I get refund for that PC version of Remastered? I'd like my money back, please. Okay, so can I have my refund now? And I don't know how successful people have been in getting their refunds, but there are some people reporting that Rockstar is playing coy and kind of stalling instead of issuing a refund right there and then. What the fuck is this? I'm asking for a refund, not to be stalled. Clicking on the message that this user received from Rockstar support, here's what it said. The Rockstar Games launcher is now back online. However, the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Edition will remain unavailable to play or purchase as we work to remove some data files that were unintentionally included in the new versions of these games. We apologize for the inconvenience and hope that the correct versions of the games will be up and running for everyone as soon as possible. We'll update your ticket as soon as we have more information. No mention here if we'll get on that refund right away. They're just stalling for time, assuring the individual here that the game will be back up and everything will be great again. But the issues stretch far beyond just the PC version being inaccessible. Even when the game is accessible, all kinds of things are messed up or broken or unpolished. And there's some people questioning whether Rockstar Games and Take-Two aren't violating some consumer laws here by essentially yanking the PC version from users who bought the game and downloaded it and removing access to it entirely. Like, it's not even playable for people who already have it. So Ben here, for example, tweeted, Rockstar Games are definitely violating a consumer law for taking away ownership of a consumer product without offering automatic refunds. I was enjoying it until they removed it. This isn't right, Rockstar Games, and you know it. And I'm no legal expert, so I wouldn't be able to tell you if Rockstar and Take-Two are sticking within the boundaries of the law in the way they've handled the removal of the PC version. Now, there is a response below of somebody who claims that their dad is a lawyer, and apparently his dad told him that there will be something in the terms and conditions that goes along the lines of, we're not responsible if you can't access any games. We don't have to give you any money. It's unethical, but not illegal. Regardless of the legality surrounding all of this, the fact remains that this is, in fact, an unethical thing to do, to yank a product from a paying customer because the makers of that product messed up on their end, and them sneaking in and just taking that away without any sort of heads up or permission. That does not seem right to me. Now, we did get a response from Thomas Williamson, who is the head of Grove Street Games. This is the studio that has worked on a number of ports for Grand Theft Auto, and they worked on Grand Theft Auto Remastered. He tweeted, "It's so fun to see players out there really enjoying what we have put together for them. I'm honestly enjoying this unparalleled level of scrutiny on our studio. Today we're celebrating our monumental project launch while we work on updates." Smiley face. To a lot of people, this gives off the vibe that Thomas isn't taking this situation as seriously as he should. You're enjoying this unparalleled level of scrutiny. This is no laughing matter for the paying customers who were excited for this product, only to get a definitive edition that somehow in some areas feels inferior to the original classics. If you're on Switch, only to get a version of the game that performs so poorly that a lot of people are calling it unplayable. And if you have the PC version, you can't access the game you've purchased and downloaded. This is on top of the fact that the people who do have access to the best version of the game are still seeing some performance hitches here and there, are seeing visual changes that look dreadful, rain that makes portions of the game unplayable, models that are incredibly distracting, and how much worse they look now and completely take you out. And the worst part is that much like how Warcraft 3 Reforged not only ruined a remaster but also the original version of the game, the original classic, Take-Two and Rockstar did something similar by removing the classic versions and delisting them from storefronts, making the Trilogy Definitive Edition version of these games the de facto version. But a lot of people prefer to just go back to the originals and mod those games instead of playing this half-assed or rushed and unpolished Trilogy Definitive Edition. And I guess Take-Two and Rockstar knew of the possibility that the mods would be better than their own official effort, hence why they've been sniping overhaul mods of older games left and right. It's bad enough that Take-Two and Rockstar are treating the modding community the way they are, given how much this community has contributed to keeping these older games alive. But on top of that, Take-Two and Rockstar couldn't even deliver a proper remaster that is at least on par, if not superior, to the mods. This multi-million-dollar conglomerate that's amongst the most profitable in the world. So yeah, if you ask me, this is a release that was asking for a user score this low because it ultimately does not fulfill its purpose. It's supposed to be the definitive edition, but from removed content to a host of issues that are distracting at best and make the game downright unplayable at worst, this is far from definitive. Might as well label it Grand Theft Auto The Trilogy Reforged. It's pretty much the exact same situation of a remaster that ruins aspects of the original while also making the original inaccessible, making the classic version inaccessible. Are there good aspects to this Trilogy Remaster? Yes, but is it the definitive edition? That most certainly it's not. Or at least that's one man's take on the latest developments surrounding Grand Theft Auto The Trilogy Definitive Edition. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on everything going on, and what your experience has been like with this remaster package. If you bought it and got your hands on it, share your thoughts in the comments below. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.